Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 27th of January. I'm Maeve McMahon, and this is Europe Today, your daily dose of European news and analysis, live here on Euronews. Coming up, some breaking news. A historic EU-India free trade deal has just been signed in New Delhi after years of taking one step forward and two steps back. As the EU looks to counter tariff threats from the current US administration and manage an influx of cheap goods from China, European leaders and business reps are marking the moment today at a landmark EU-India summit. Under the deal, India is expected to ease market access for European products, from cars to wine. And in return, it will be easier for India to export textiles and pharmaceuticals. For more, we can cross now straight to New Delhi, where Euronews' EU editor Maria Tadeo is standing by for us. Good morning, Maria. Great to have you with us. Just tell us, the deal is just being signed there in front of your eyes. Tell us more.
Well, yes, absolutely. And this is a deal now announced by the European Union and, of course, India. It's been described as the mother of all deals. And Maeve, in just a few moments, you'll see right behind me the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, but also the Indian Prime Minister Modi and the head of the European Council will walk in and take questions from the press. Obviously, this erupts now a two-day summit in India. The two sides also suggest that this is now a new chapter for strategic relations when it comes to the two blocs. And, of course, we have to look at the details of this trade deal, which will cut tariffs on more than 90% of European products. European sources also telling us in the run-up to the announcement that this will open up a market that until now has been very heavily protected by the Indians. Obviously, this could be good for European car makers, for chemicals, for wine, spirits, olive oils. In some of these sectors, tariffs could go all the way down to zero. And of course, we've got to remember that this is a country that's not just one of the fastest growing markets in the world, but it's also a country of more than 1.4 billion people. I should also note, and this is very important just before we have to leave, that the timing is interesting because both India and the European Union, of course, have come under pressure from tariffs from President Trump, this country operating under a 50% tariff regime. They both say they want to diversify and open up to new markets.
OK, Maria Tadeo, our EU news editor there, reporting from Delhi on that major announcement breaking today. Thank you so much for that. The final deal, of course, will have to get the green light from the European Parliament, but you can read more about Maria's reporting on Euronews.com. But now, back in Brussels, Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary-General, was in the European Parliament yesterday with a very stark message for MEPs. Take a look.
President Trump is doing a lot of good stuff, I believe. The 2% reached by all NATO countries now at the end of 2025 would never, ever, ever have happened without Trump. And do you really think that in The Hague we would have come to the 5% commitment without President Trump? No way. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming.
Keep on dreaming. That's the NATO chief there, telling European nations that they would need to increase defence spending to 10% if they, quote, really want to do it alone. He added they would also need to build up their own nuclear capability, and that would cost billions of euros. Euronews' Stefan Kobe was following the speech for us and joins us now here in the studio. Good morning, Stefan.
Good morning, Maeve.
Tell us, what more did Mark Rutte have to say and how is it received by MEPs?
Well, first of all, these hearings at the European Parliament tend to be very casual affairs, like the European version of a fireside chat. And people expected some muscular statement from Mark Rutte, but it wasn't the way they thought. He was quite fiery, as you've seen, saying that Europe cannot defend itself alone without the Americans. And he praised Donald Trump. And when he said, I say something that you don't like, I will defend Donald Trump, saying that the increase of defense spending is largely due to the US president. So that left many of the members of parliament with a little bit of frustration. That's not what they wanted to hear, really. Also important, what Mark Rutte didn't speak about, and that was the Greenland deal. It was very short on details. We still don't know, almost a week after Davos, what's in this deal. Is this a deal at all? But sure, Mark Rutte then has not a mandate to negotiate on behalf of all the member states.
And some people a bit concerned about the fact that he's a little bit like teacher's pet here to the US administration.
Well, absolutely. And, some EU leaders, former and present, reacted to this. And Charles Michel, the former Belgian Prime Minister and EU Council President, said, "You're wrong, dear Mark Rutte. Europe will defend itself. And Donald Trump is not my daddy." That's a potshot at Mark Rutte. Of course, Europe's future requires vision, courage and leadership, not resignation, submission and fatalism. So there you have it. Others follow. The French Prime Minister, for example, saying the same thing. Europe can or should, work to be able to defend itself in the future, and we have to put some distance between us and the Americans. Now, I believe that this is somewhat of an academic discussion here because of things that have been going on in the United States itself. So in December 2023, Joe Biden was the president. Congress passed overwhelmingly a bill that barred any president from unilaterally withdrawing from NATO. So that would require approval from the Senate or an act of Congress. So they were, if you remember, and during Trump's first term, he already toyed with the idea of America leaving NATO. And here you have a Congress bipartisan bill, by the way, orchestrated by Mark Rubio, the Secretary of State today. So it's Trump cannot just walk away like this.
Okay, Stefan Krobbe, thank you so much for all those details. We'd love to hear your view as well on that. Write to us here at Europe Today at euronews.com. But now, moving on, you might have noticed the French president has soared in popularity lately, quite simply for his fashionable shades in Davos. Emmanuel Macron is also using this moment in the limelight to push through a social media ban for minors that has also been approved by the French Assembly. Jakob Janis tells us more.
France is officially at war with social media, and the battle cries are echoing all over Europe. According to a French health watchdog, half of teens spend between 2 to 5 hours a day on their smartphones. President Macron says our children's brains are not for sale and wants a social media ban for under 15s by September. But your reporter went for a dinner with some tech lobbyists, and it's clear now this ban sounds like a nightmare. Let's investigate. Supporters say it would protect kids from harmful content. Over a half of European teens have seen online pornography. The average age of first exposure? Just 11. And in the era of Elon Musk's Grok AI, they don't even need to search for it. They can generate it. So let's cheer for the AI revolution. And Australia, which was first to ban social media for teens, claims the ban helps kids focus. Like children actually need focus to study. Personally, I think algebra is much easier when you are interrupted every 12 seconds. Finally, the ban would hurt profits of the big American and Chinese apps. And my legal team advised me not to name them, so here instead is a video of a sad puppy. Just look at his sad eyes. Look, if your child doesn't recognize your face anymore because it isn't vertical, don't worry. Just send them a message with a funny cat video. With the social media ban, you can't, so case closed. And I just hope my new friends who work as lobbyists liked my explainer. My job is done here. Now let's go back to doom scrolling.
Jakob Janis there. But now, coming up, we'll be joined by the Executive Vice-President of the European Commission, Henna Virkkunen. The Finnish politician and former MEP and Government Minister is currently in charge of tech sovereignty, security and democracy. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Great to have you with us.
Yes. Thank you.
Look, the big news, of course, breaking this morning is happening in New Delhi. Tell us more about how this EU trade deal with India will impact our viewers.
Of course, it's a very important deal from the European Union perspective because together, European Union and India, we are two biggest democracies in the world. And I think this is great news for everybody. So more business opportunities for our SMEs, for our industries, also for our service providers, and of course, also for the Indians. Especially when it comes to technologies, we are working also together with India. We have our technology partnership also with India. And especially when we are looking the talent part, we know that India is having very much ICT experts and talents, and we are really lacking workforce in Europe. So this is now certainly a field where we are working together with India, also to attract more talented ICT experts from India to work in Europe.
Okay. So you've your work cut out for you there. And now just talk to us about the investigation that you've launched this week against Elon Musk's controversial AI chat box, Grok. Tell us more about your findings here.
We opened also formal investigation yesterday on this topic, especially now to investigate that how X has been assessing and mitigating the risks. So it's obligation under DSA that always the service providers, they have to assess and mitigate the systematic risks what they are posing. And now we see that Grok is now included more and more to X services. So to really look at how the risks are taken care there. And also we saw also that there was certain illegal content that Grok was pushing. We know that now the feature has been changed, but we are also now analyzing about the other risks really related to Grok.
And we saw that Grok AI generated about 3 million sexualized images in just 2 weeks. That's according to research. Can you keep up with this, though? It came very late, like your
We have very clear obligations for the online service providers that they have to all the time mitigate the risks what they are posing, especially now when more and more AI is also integrated to online services. More and more AI is also running the recommender system of the online services. So this is certain obligation now for the online platforms to really look that they are having practices in place and illegal content, for example, it's not spread online.
And has X responded? Because we all know how Elon Musk feels about the European Union.
Yes, they have been in dialogue with the Commission services. We already sent it earlier for them request for information about this topic, that how they have been assessing the risks. And also we made before Christmas already the decisions that they have to now retain all the documents related to Grok and X. And now we opened also the formal proceedings. So they have been in dialogue with our services all these months.
Okay. And how are you making sure that we can get it right here in the EU, that we can make sure that we have smart regulation when it comes to AI, but that we can also thrive?
That is exactly what we are seeking in our regulation, that we want to have right balance there, boosting innovations, but at the same time it's also important to be aware of risks. And when it comes to new technologies, also like to AI, so it's very important also that the developers, that they are also taking care of their responsibility here. And we have already AI Act, which is covering also the generative AI part, and the 26 AI developers, they were also signing code of practice together with us. So it means that they have to take care of the security, safety of the systems, and also they have to be transparent, they have to respect copyrights. So I see that we have a good balance in the European Union when it comes to digital regulation.
And how are you handling the pressure, though, coming from the US administration, trying to back you in a corner, trying to get you to kill the regulation?
We know that these digital rules are very important for the Europeans because we want to make sure that our citizens can trust the technologies. We want to be sure that our digital environment is fair, transparent, democratic and safe.
But you're seen as a rule maker. You were just in Davos last week, everyone looking at you as the regulator, not the innovator. But there was good news on the 28th regime, right, to make it easier for startups here in the EU.
In the same time, when we have certain digital rules, we want to make Europe faster and easier for the businesses, and we are doing that. So we are simplifying the processes and rules. We are creating better single market. We are boosting the capital markets to have also access to finance for the startups. So we are working on that, and we see that Europe is having everything what is needed to be competitive.
OK. Henna Virkkunen, Vice President of the European Commission, thank you so much for coming into us here at Europe Today and being our guest. And thank you so much for tuning in. This does bring this edition of Europe Today to an end. But tune again tomorrow. We'll be live from the European Space Conference with an exclusive interview with the head of the European Space Agency. See you soon on Euronews.